Hello, everybody. We are live. Hi, Gracie. Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Brian. Hi, Carol, Irene, Tim. How you guys doing? Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you guys being here. I didn't even check hair and makeup. Is anybody got a comb? No. How you doing? It's been a busy day. I got here just in time, you guys. So amazing, right? Did you guys watch the State of the Union address by Biden? Okay, no? Yeah, I don't blame you. I sat through it. I did. What a mess. What a clown show, right? It's horrible. Biden looked weak and frail, as he always does. And that's exactly how he looks to foreign leaders. So, yeah, I'm seeing some comments here. Nope, no. Some people did, some people didn't. I don't blame you. But, you know, it's something to remember, you guys. Under President Bush, Russia invaded Georgia, right? Remember that? Under Obama, Russia invaded Crimea. Under Biden, Russia has invaded Ukraine. Who did Russia invade under President Trump? Nobody. President Trump is the only president in recent history to hold Russia in check. President Trump had it together. Foreign leaders respected him because he was strong. Our military was strong. Biden's just weak and frail. So I'm going to just kind of real quick go through some little bit of summary of what I saw. Okay, he definitely cares more about a foreign country more than he does his own. Right? He cares about foreign nations' borders more than he does ours. There's no threat to America and Americans in Ukraine. There might be a big threat to Joe Biden and his son's income and the corruption that they were involved in Ukraine, but not to the American people. He talked about unifying our European allies, but he didn't have any concern about unifying our allies when he pulled out of Afghanistan and left our allies and American citizens behind, did he? This guy's a clown. He said he wants to have a dedicated task force to go after Russian oligarchs. I think we need a dedicated prosecutor to go after Joe Biden and his son. What do you guys think? Wants to send billions of dollars to Ukraine so that they can protect their border. Well, what about ours? You know, remember like 2 million people illegally crossed our border last year? What about our border? He said that he's not going to engage our military in Ukraine. Remember, that's how the Vietnam War started. Remember what they said? We're just sending military advisors. Politicians are liars, and Joe Biden is their leader. Not my leader. We have to remember our history so we don't let criminal politicians repeat it. Just advisors, right? Yeah, that's how it starts. So he also talked about limiting the size of our rifle magazines, just like our I'll keep it civil because I know a lot of children watch this show, but just like the governor here in Washington State wants to limit the size of our rifle magazines. So I wonder if he wants to limit the size of rifle magazines for the Ukrainian citizens that are fighting in the streets right now, like he wants to do us. He said, deer don't wear Kevlar. He's right. But our founders didn't just get done fighting, hunting when they wrote the Second Amendment, did they? No, they just got through taking over and kicking the behind of a dictator. So the Second Amendment is not written for hunting, Mr. Biden. It's not any of the business of the government, how many bullets my gun holds or what kind of gun I have. I mean, the citizens in Ukraine right now, they're a prime example of why we have the Second Amendment, right? It needs to be upheld and enforced, because invading armies and agents of one-party totalitarian dictatorships do wear Kevlar. No thanks, Joe. I will keep my high-capacity magazines, and I will keep whatever kind of rifle I want to keep. And so will everybody that I know. How about you support the prosecution of criminals instead of violating we the people's rights, thinking that if we just limit the size of magazines or we control what kind of firearms the citizens have, that's going to stop crime. Criminals are criminals. They're going to commit crimes. We need to prosecute criminals, get them off the street. Law-abiding citizens need to be armed. They need to be able to protect themselves and their family from criminals on the street or criminals in government. That's what the founders wrote the Second Amendment for. So we, the people, had some teeth. We overthrew a tyrant who tried to take weapons away from the citizens. That's why they stood up at the Concord Bridge. That's why we fought a war, because of our rights. So he's going to also release oil from our strategic reserves. Why don't we just let loose the oil producers, the men and women who work in the oil industry, and we produce our own like we were under President Trump? We were energy independent. But what was the first thing that Biden did when he took office? He shut down our oil pipeline and put tens of thousands of hardworking men and women out of work in high-paying jobs. But he turned right around and he okayed a pipeline for Russia. It's like he doesn't work for the American people, right? He's not a public servant. He's not helping us. He helped out Russia. He had no mention of the invasion on our southern border. Of course he didn't. He's never gone down to visit the border. He doesn't care. He wants to flood this country with people from other countries who are used to a one-party totalitarian dictatorship. So they'll continue to vote people like him into office. He doesn't have a problem sending our tax dollars to governments all over the world, though. He pivoted to the American Rescue Plan, which actually should be called the Bankrupt America Plan, right? He talked about creating jobs. Biden didn't create any jobs. People just started going back to work after their jobs and businesses were ruined by the government's reaction to a virus. Not the virus, like he claims, but the reaction for the left's policies dealing with the virus. Remember, shut down all the small businesses, put mom and pop shops out of business. People are starting to recover and go back to work. Some people will never recover. The government does not create prosperity, you guys. I think that you all know that. Government doesn't build businesses. The American people do. When the government gets out of our way, right? To socialists like Biden, everything has to come from Uncle Sam. Our founders didn't set up our country that way. They set it up to where we would be free to pursue what we wanted to start the business that we wanted to. Remember that a government that can give you everything you want is a government that can take everything that you have. And when the government hands out taxpayer money, focusing on a certain industry, then it's in the business of picking winners and losers, right? I don't want a government that picks winners and losers. I want a government that's going to get out of the way. We don't need any new spending bills for American businesses to grow and invest in products. We just need the government out of the way and let loose the entrepreneurs. You know, less regulations, less taxes, less government interference. That's how this country became the greatest country in the history of the world. And that happens when we don't have government picking winners and losers and regulating and taxing everyone to death. He said that inflation was caused by the virus. Nothing could be further from the truth. Inflation is not caused by a virus. Inflation is caused by printing money backed by nothing out of thin air. The more money that is in circulation causes inflation. The rising prices on everything that we buy, from food to cars, is the result of inflation. That's a symptom of inflation. But inflation is flooding the economy with worthless dollars. We need to return to constitutional money. The Constitution says how our money should be. It doesn't say anything about a central bank regulating our money. It doesn't say that we should have the ability to print money out of thin air backed by nothing either. It gives Congress that responsibility, and Congress needs to take it back. He wants to have government price controls on everything from prescription drugs to childcare. Again, we don't need more government controls. We need less. I mean, he must think that we're fools. He said, because things are more expensive, just cut costs. Yeah, he's brilliant. He wants to raise the minimum wage to $15. You know, and some people are like, well, that's great. I want to make more money. Well, you don't have to be an economics professor to understand that if you tax and regulate businesses and raise labor costs, all you're doing is raising the price of the products and services that those businesses create, which the people you're trying to help have to pay. That forces businesses to cut hours, cut overtime, cut benefits, cut how many employees they have, or just go out of business. I don't know how many businesses I talked to, you know, small mom and pop outfits. And they said if the minimum wage gets raised any higher than it is right now, that they would be forced to go out of business. They hired mostly high school kids on the weekend and the summer and in the summertime to work in their businesses, you know, mom and pop cafes, small businesses. They provide an income for teenagers at minimum wage. But how many hamburgers do you have to sell when you're paying 2 or 3 employees $15 an hour? You know, you have to keep the lights on the business. You have to pay for where the business is at. You got to pay for the upkeep, the taxes, the insurance, and then you have to pay a mandated minimum wage that is way above what you can even make, you know, let alone trying to make a living for yourself and your family. So he talked about veterans and that we need to take care of them. And that's about the only thing that I agreed with him on. We need to take care of our veterans. The best way that we can keep our young men and women from continually coming home damaged from war is to stop these endless wars in faraway countries and return to what the Constitution mandates, that we don't go to war unless the Congress declares it. That's in the Constitution. Our founders set our country up that way for a reason. So we could prevent these endless wars that do nothing but put money into the military-industrial complex and kill, maim, and mentally damage our young people who go off to fight those wars. And those same companies in the military-industrial complex turn right around and make huge contributions to the politicians who keep us in those wars. Our founders didn't intend to have one person deciding whether or not our nation was going to war. That's what a king does. Our founders were smart. They put that responsibility into the many hands of the people's representatives in Congress so that we could be a nation at peace and not fighting these continuous wars all around the world. We should never go to war based on one person's opinion. We should never go to war because of multinational organizations like NATO or the United Nations. The only time we should go to war is when the people's representatives vote in the House of Representatives and declare war. That's how we can help future veterans. So to summarize, according to Joe Biden, big government is the answer. Printing more money and spending more money is the answer. More regulations is the answer. So his entire speech was pretty much to reframe the narrative in preparation for this election coming up. He wants to be able to blame the Republicans because, he has to know that most of these socialist things, these Marxist things, communist things that he's pushing aren't going to pass. So he'll be able to then blame it on the Republicans. That's what's going on, Also, COVID is to blame for everything. And by the way, did you notice that they weren't wearing masks? Yeah, Nancy Pelosi lifted the mask mandate in Congress just not too long ago, right? Because of the science. So Biden didn't take responsibility for anything. Not a failing economy, not wide open borders, not out of control inflation, none of it. It's all COVID's fault. So with that, how are we doing on time? I'm going to bring Chris in here for a minute to get his quick perspective on this and see what he has. Chris, are you there?
Hey, Loren.
Look at that. It's just like magic.
It is just like magic. That's what I think really runs our country nowadays. It's just magic, just poof, just things.
Fairy dust.
Magic. It's right.
Yeah,
it's just fairy dust.
Sprinkle some fairy dust on everything, and it'll be all fine.
That's exactly right. Loren, I think you really hit the nail on the head in your monologue there a moment ago. That what I saw, and this is just my political analysis. What I saw was a president that was rambling, that got lost in his speech multiple times. That didn't really have a firm grasp on any sort of reality. The speech was incoherent, incohesive. It jumped around from subject to subject, and really, there's nothing really good happening. Right? He hasn't produced anything. His poll numbers are in the tank, and this he really couldn't give a State of the Union speech where he championed his wins because he doesn't have any. And some of the wins that he did try to take credit for were the wins that the previous President Trump, which, by the way, congratulations on the endorsement. I noticed you've got a new little badge up in the corner of your screen there, endorsed by Trump. But he tried to take credit for the previous administration's wins. This is a president that is in danger, and he's in danger of not just losing. He knows he's going to lose control of the House and possibly the Senate. And what he's trying to do is provide the party a pivot point. And ladies and gentlemen at home, I want you to keep an eye on this, because this is exactly what's going to happen. He set the stage tonight to provide the Democrat Party a pivot point to pivot back towards the center, because they know the craziness that they're espouse themselves to, like defunding the police and wide open borders, and it has facilitated all of the crime. It has facilitated the opioid epidemic. It has facilitated a lot of the problems. The runaway inflation, the war in Ukraine. I believe that the Ukrainian situation could have been completely avoided had we had a strong president with resolve and was resolute to stop this from happening.
Yeah.
So what you're going to see, ladies and gentlemen, and this is my opinion, I could be wrong, but what you're going to see is the Democrats immediately start to propose, and even some of the Rhino Republicans, Dan Newhouse, our opponent in this race, Mr. Culp, is going to probably renew his push for his immigration reform bill to give amnesty to illegals, because he sees a window here probably that he can maybe get this thing passed. And what's going to happen is most of those things are going to die in either the House or the Senate, and they're not going to get passed. Then in turn, what they're going to do is they're going to pivot and tell the American people that it's the Republican Party that is to blame for all these wonderful things that didn't get passed, that it's the Republicans' fault that the Democrats weren't able to pass Joe Biden's agenda. And so that is really all tonight was about. It wasn't about talking. It wasn't about talking about wins. Everything in the United States is just great. And I wrote one note down I want to share. So I don't know if those of you that watched, there was a key moment in the speech where the Democrats started cheering USA, USA, USA. Now, I distinctly remember not long ago when chants of USA, USA, USA at Trump rallies and just spontaneously in stadiums all over the country were branded by the left-wing media, the media industrial complex, as symbols of white supremacy. And now magically, because they're trying to pivot to the middle, now they can chant it. Now it's okay.
Well, yeah, because it's popular. So of course they're coming back from their insanity fueled last year and trying to act like they're sane. But right. Biden could have just slept through the last year, right? I wish he would have. 100%. And we would have been better off. President Trump had our country on the right track. Biden should have just sat on his hands, not did anything, and we would be better off than where we are right now.
100%.
It's pathetic. My phone keeps going off. It's not
well,
the president, but you know what?
You're a popular man now.
Off here not too long ago, and it was the president.
That's right, and you got an endorsement. And with that, I think that's a good. I think that's a good segue into this next segment. You and I both went on a trip last week. Short notice.
I wouldn't call it a vacation, though.
No, certainly not. No, it was a working
travel.
Yeah, it really was, and so why don't you share with the folks at home kind of how everything went and where we were last Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, you guys. I think it was it was a week ago Sunday that we got notified that President Trump invited us down to Mar-a-Lago for a candidate forum. He had about a dozen candidates that he had endorsed for Congress and for Senate. And I was invited down there with Chris. So we flew down on Tuesday all day in an airplane. I think one leg was 6 hours and the next was 2. So flew down to Mar-a-Lago. And we went there Wednesday. The event started we were there at 8:30 in the morning.
We're there at 7:45 in the morning, sir.
Yeah, it was early. So we got there early. We were the first ones there.
Yes, we were. Because I'm not late for anything ever.
No, especially not a meeting at Mar-a-Lago. But we got there early. Chris and I just hung around, looked around in the building where we're at. And Mar-a-Lago, I got to tell you guys, it is fantastic. It is like really fancy resort. It is absolutely awesome. A lot of history there. So had a model of Air Force One sitting on the coffee table, and we just hung around and talked. A few people filtered in, but we spent all day there. We were there from early in the morning until about 9 o'clock that night. We got to meet President Trump, shake his hand, get a picture with him, which I'm still waiting for them to send to me, but they had a lot going on with CPAC all through the weekend. So they'll be sending that picture pretty quick. I'll share it with all of you. Met a lot of people, and I'm not even going to attempt to start naming off a list. You probably can, Chris, but
Congressman Jim Jordan.
Oh, Jim Jordan. Yeah. I talked to Jim Jordan. That guy is real. He's as real as you would think he is. He's one of the most conservative members of Congress. But I took the time to talk. And in fact, I talked to him twice. So I also was invited up on stage. I went on stage with Matt Whitaker, the former U.S. Attorney General, after Jeff Sessions was let loose, let go, fired, whatever. Matt Whitaker and I and another candidate sat on stage. We were up there for about 45 minutes and just having a fireside chat about issues, topics, and in front of the whole audience. It went really well. Had a great time, especially shaking the hand of President Trump. And for all of you that have never met him in person, he is real. He is just the same guy that you see on TV.
As advertised.
Yep. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, the Make America Great Again movement is alive and well. I mean, I met with several of the candidates that he invited there, and they are all real America First type of people. You know, they care about the American people. They care about our economy and our country and our border and our Constitution. And so I think it's going to be a very interesting election this year.
Absolutely. That was a fun, it was tiring. Don't get me wrong, right. But it was an enjoyable time. It was almost surreal to be there in Mar-a-Lago for the first time. As long as I've been around, you know, I mean, I was on Trump's staff in 2016 in Oregon as a statewide political director on paid staff. And this is the first time that I had any opportunity to be at Mar-a-Lago to spend time with those folks, because I've always been in the field plowing, so to speak. I've never been able to go back to the farmhouse. And so it was nice to be able to be there and to meet a lot of wonderful people. And I was pleasantly surprised. A lot of these meetings, like the CPACs and the different things, there's a lot of peacocking that goes on. You know what I mean by peacocking, right. With the, peacocks put their feathers up and they say, look at me, look at me. This really wasn't that. This was a lot of very grounded individuals, people that are serious, people that you should take serious. And everyone was very kind. I can't speak, at least from my perspective, I can't speak any more highly of President Trump's staff and how well the event was put together and how kind everybody was. It was
Pam Bondi,
really fantastic.
Pam Bondi really stood out as a genuine. She's the former Attorney General for Florida, and now helping President Trump. Talked to her a few times on the phone before we went. Very personal, very nice. Happy to have us there. She helped out a lot. Also met with Herschel Walker, NFL football player that everybody knows, running for Senate. That guy is real. He's very humble.
Very
nice.
Yeah.
So it was a great time. But the pinnacle, I would say, was meeting President Trump in person, shaking his hand, talking to him for a few minutes. I'm really excited about this election coming up, because this is going to set the stage for him to run and win in 2024.
Absolutely. But first we're going to win in 2022, and we're going to remove the rhino.
Yeah, remove the rhino in Congress and shut down this craziness that's going on with the Biden administration. Because Congress controls the purse strings. All the funding has to go through Congress first, so we can at least put the brakes on this radical leftist agenda that's going on.
Absolutely. Okay, Mr. Culp, do you have any final words for the folks at home tonight?
Yeah, I want to encourage everybody, if you haven't already gone to my website, culpforcongress.com, go there and enter your email, sign up for email alerts. That's where you can keep up on events and things that are happening with the campaign. So we're going to be doing a lot more events, meet and greets, and things like that. We just had a great one down in Clickitat County. So we're going to have more. So make sure you sign up for email alerts. And I need your help, you guys. I can't do this alone. I'm going up against a huge machine. Newhouse has all kinds of special interest groups that are maxing out donations to him. So whatever you can afford, please donate. You can do that on the website as well, and encourage your friends to do that. We need to take him out, and we will with your help. So that's about all I got, you guys. Thank you very much. Keep praying, and I'll see you soon. Good night.